Hi, this is Sarah, the Stitchin' Mommy, and I'm here to share my stitching for this past week. It's Monday, November 5th. It's already November. It's starting to feel a little bit chilly, you know, in the mornings and in the evenings and stuff, so it's fall for Southern California. I have a lot to show today. I got lots of fun things in the mail and elsewhere, so I usually do my haul at the beginning because I usually don't have that much, but I'll do it at the end this time since there's a little bit more than usual. And I also have some pieces that I kitted up with stash fabric, some patterns and fabric that I kind of put together, and some decisions made on some Mirabilia fabric choices that I'll probably add to my wish list, you know, things like that. So I can share all of that at the end because I got a little carried away with the extra stuff this week. In November, my weekends are pretty full doing family things, and so not as much stitching time, and because of that, I think I was kind of not really feeling like stitching, so when I did have a few minutes here and there, I just wanted to do something else stitching related. So that's why I ended up playing with my stash and starting things and getting things up. So I will get to all of that in due time, but I will start with what I worked on throughout the week and then end up with all that fun stuff and a few plans going forward. So the first thing I showed you the first thing I did is what I showed you last time, my fruit wreath, which I ended up finishing, I think, on Monday night, which was really fun, and I was hoping to have it fully finished into a pillow to show you today and just to have done, along with my other little stocking converted into a pillow, and my sewing machine died. It is a 1970s all-metal Husqvarna Viking sewing machine that I got from my grandma for my high school graduation. It was tuned up at that point, so now it's 20 years later, almost, and probably needs another tune-up. My mom suggested oiling it, which I am sadly not faithful at doing, so I'm going to try that this week and oil it and see if that fixes the issue. Otherwise, I'll go get it tuned up and hopefully get this sewn up before the holidays. So, or maybe I'll take it over to my mother-in-law's to sew if I can't get mine to work in time for Christmas. But this is what it looked like last time, and here it is now. And not a whole lot different necessarily, but you can kind of see all the little branches along the edges, and everything is backstitched, and again, it just washes out in the black, but it's pretty good. I'm holding it against its pillow form that it will go on. I'm going to do an envelope finish. So this is what the backing fabric will look like. It's warmer green than it's showing there, but it's like a green foliage, and then there's going to be a red ruffle to go around it. So that's the plan, and it would have been done, but you get it in pieces today because my sewing machine died. So I will hopefully get that put together soon. Hopefully an oil job is all my sewing machine will need to get back in business. After that, I had talked about working on Furry Animals for the next couple days of the month, since I didn't have anything necessarily planned, and I ended up doing that. I was briefly toying with the idea of pulling out my diamond painting for the rest of the month, but that tends to do better on the weekends for some reason, when I can leave it out and work on it here and there on the weekend. During the week, I could do it, but it just seems a little bit more chaotic, and like I should be doing other things during the day, so I don't know. I just decided weekday wasn't the best time for it, but I slotted it in for some time later in November on a weekend. So hopefully I'll get to that later. So I worked on this most every day this past week. There were either Saturday, maybe Sunday. There were some 1 or 2 days where I didn't get to it because it was too busy. But then there was those 2 days at the end of October where I spent like an hour of regular stitching time on it instead of just 5 minutes. So this is what that looked like last time. And here it is now. getting a little bit closer. I don't remember all that I have done. I think I did a color that ended up in the bunnies and down here and maybe a little bit up here. And then I did some more colors up in the sky as well. So I can't remember what it was like last time, but that's what it looks like now. And I am now officially 24% complete. 24 blocks are officially finished. So obviously that's more than a quarter done, but there's a lot of like ninja stitches, which are just one or two here and there that aren't done yet. So that's that one, and it's coming along. That would be nice to get done before the end of the year, but at this point I'm feeling more like getting back into all my projects than focusing on things so much. I think that kind of burned me out a little bit, focusing on those Christmas pieces. I'll still work on it every day, but I don't know necessarily if I'll focus on it to try to finish it this year, because it's not that important to me. But we'll see. We'll see how I feel after November's plans. The next thing I worked on was on November 1st, so it was my husband's piece, The Simpsons. This was a full coverage design I got on eBay, and I am not stitching the white background or the white interior background. And I'm recharting the graph so that so the ink doesn't smear, so I have bigger symbols that don't match each other's. I have numbers along the top. You know, there's a lot of things that were hard to use about the original pattern, so I'm redoing it in my own software. And just got a little bit done on this because not a lot of time that day. It was a Wednesday, as I said before, and that was Halloween, so we took the kids trick-or-treating and whatnot. So this is what this looked like last time. And here it is now. So I did one more string of yellow to fill out his face. This is where the bottom of the page is for how it's charted new. So I decided to just stop there. I probably had a little bit more string left to keep going, but I didn't have the rest of that updated in my new pattern. So I just stopped. And then I started again with a dark navy that's currently still on my needle to do a little bit more up here, so you can see his little like two hairs have a little bit more distinction as well. So I'll do more of that color when I pull this out next month. And not sure where I'll go with it after that, but because I figure getting another outline color would be nice. So that's what I did on that day. Pardon the garbage truck outside. It is garbage day. On the second and the third a little bit, I worked on Touchdown for my son. This is going to be John Elway, a Bronco, and a Raider, and we discovered, well, here, I'll show you what it looks like now. So this is what it looked like last time. And here it is now. So this top half of him is finished. So I was working down here. I got his helmet done like one string or less than one string on Friday because I was just so busy. And then finished out the string on Saturday and started to do, it's the dark color for his mask, but then face mask, but then there's also, it's the lightest shade of black for his stripes and number on his jersey, because I'm going to make it's going to be a white jersey with black numbers. This guy is charted with an 80, which if you've been following me, I am redoing this for my son, who's a football fanatic, and he loves statistics, and he's very particular about numbers, and the Denver Broncos are our favorite team, and since this was already charted to be a 7, that's John Elway's number, which is my husband's favorite player. We went with that for him and made the colors match Broncos colors and made that John Elway. I'm swapping the skin tones to accommodate that. So this guy is going to be a Raider because Oakland Raiders are one of our enemies in our division. So However, the number 80 is not a defensive number in the NFL. It is a offensive number for a wide receiver or a tight end, one of those positions. So this person would not be on the field at the same time as this number, as a quarterback number. So my son, being who he is, would really like it to be accurate. So I looked up the Oakland Raiders roster for 1998, which is one of the years John Elway led the Broncos to the Super Bowl. And the most well-known Oakland defender that he knew of on the team was Charles Woodson, who was a cornerback and number 24. So I will be charting this. While he was a Raider, he was number 24. He was also a Packer later in his career, in case you cared, which you probably don't. But so I will be recharting this to number 24. I had kind of hoped I wouldn't have to rechart it, but he cares a little bit too much. So these stitches right here, there's only 3 of them, so it's not a big deal. But these stitches might end up not there. They might end up different. So I stopped stitching and was consulting him and doing other things. So I didn't get as much done on this as I would have liked. I was hoping to maybe get some of his face done as well, but I kind of got sidetracked by trying to make this accurate. So that will be the next thing to work on, is to rechart his number, and this will be now John Elway and Charles Woodson for my son. So, oh yeah, and I guess I have to rechart a little one over here too, because he has his number twice. So that's what I'll be doing. Sometime probably before it comes around again, I would like to have that recharted so it can be ready to go. So Saturday I was supposed to work on Snow Queen to start my 4-day rotation on her. I did not touch her at all on Saturday. I worked a tiny bit more on my touchdown piece, and I went to Stitches SoCal, which was in Pasadena. And my motivation to go there was to meet Ann P., who has her yarn and patterns in a shop there at Stitches SoCal. She goes to a bunch of different fiber fairs around the country. She's on Flosstube as Ann P., and cross stitches is her hobby, but her actual job is designing knitwear and dyeing yarn for knitting. So Woolly Wonka Fibers, I believe, is the name of her company. And so she was there in my neck of the woods, so I had to go say hi to her. And my mom likes to knit and spin yarn, so we went to I asked her to come with me. I didn't want to drive over there by myself, and so we went together and had breakfast with Anne, and it was a really nice visit. Then my mom and I made the rounds of all the vendors and looked for things, mostly for her, but I did find a little bit for me. And then, here my cat's gonna come. And then saw Anne again at the end, right before we left, and got a picture, so I will insert that here. And we're standing in front of the wall of all of her yarns and things. So that was really nice to meet her in person, and because we become good friends through Flosstube and Instagram and Full Coverage Fanatics group and all of that, because we have similar tastes and strategies when it comes to stitching and planning and all of that. So that was really fun. But all that to say, a good chunk of my day was filled up with that, and with the other family stuff that we're doing on the weekends, not a lot of stitching time at all. I believe that might have been the day that I decided to finally work on converting this pattern. This is going to be for my daughter's kindergarten teacher. Their elementary school mascot is the owls, so it seemed like a cute one that has an alphabet and owls for a kindergarten teacher. So I thought that would be perfect. So what I've done, I am using this like putty green, army green. It's a little bit warmer again than it's showing in the picture. Sorry, my cat's bumping you again. Let's see if I can close the blinds a little bit. Hi, yeah, you're gonna help again? This was the fabric that I got in my goodie bag at the Southern California Stitching Retreat. So Heather, the confetti stitcher, picked this out at the attic and cut up a bunch of pieces for everybody. There was a lot of different colors. This is the color that I chose. I helped assemble the bags, so we all got to pick the one we wanted. It was a surprise for most people. Let's see. And these are the colors that I picked to do this pattern with. And I'm changing it up a little bit. I'm brightening it up. For example, some of the biggest changes. The owl ones are very similar, but they're all fancy floss except for black. No, not black. This one doesn't have black. They're all fancy floss. The hoot is going to be cranberry by Color and Cotton, so it's going to have some variegation and a little bit more interest. This one is really dark, like browny. Yeah, like a brown color. So this is a more fun, vibrant color, and then these occasional spots of blue letters will be Tropical Wonder by Victoria Motto, which is also nice and bright. I'm doing Mossy for the regular letters, which has a lot more variegation than some, and they called for DMC for that color, so it'll be very different. And then a lot of these other ones are for the owl, and this is a Eliza Bell Cox conversion for the same color they wanted for this, so it will have just a touch of variegation, but it'll be very similar to what they called for there. So I got a tiny start on this so that I don't have to start it in 2019. So here is what I did. Just started in the middle and did one letter, the letter K. And so that's my start. The lightest color is kind of similar to the fabric color, the lightest shade of Mossy, but most of the thread looks good on this fabric. So, yeah, it's not as, it's more green in real life, the fabric is. So, but I am really excited to work on this some more. So if I ever get more random time here and there, I might work on it more this year. Otherwise, I'll save it till later into the spring when I actually need it finished. So I have mostly Victorian Motto. I have 2 weeks Dye Works. I have a Color and Cotton and a Classic Colorworks. So that's my kit up for Hoot by Bent Creek. And I got this pattern from Shelly Key X Stitch when she was done with it. So she passed the stash. So that's fun. And then I finally got to Snow Queen. In between, I did some, before I started working on Snow Queen, I kitted up a new start, which I'll tell you about in my plans, and I played around with my fabric in my stash and matched fabrics up with patterns and all of that, but I'll show you that after this in case you don't care about that. So my next thing I actually worked on was Snow Queen. Supposed to have this worked on Saturday and Sunday, just got a little bit, like an hour and a half yesterday, but better than nothing. So this is what that looked like last time, and here she is now. Very little progress. I just worked on this medium color of blue in this section of her skirt. Not quite done with it, a little bit more of that color of blue, and then I can move on to the lightest shade of blue, and then do the Krynic and beads in this. Hopefully that, it would be nice to get this chunk done in this rotation, but that might be pushing it, because I only have 2 more days on it before I'm going to do something else. So we will see. Again, I'd like to finish this year if possible. My daughter's birthday's at the beginning of December. There's also Christmas at the end of December, so either of those could be a gift-giving opportunity, although she does know I'm working on it, so it's not a surprise. But those would be opportunities to like have it framed and presented to her. So that's kind of the goal. And then my travel piece that I worked on, I had just started February last time, so this is what that looked like last time. And got a little bit done on that. Almost done with the house. The house is kind of boring. It's just browns. And the caterpillar is really dark here and really light here, so I don't know if I like that, but I might just end up leaving it. If it really bugs me, once I get more of the surrounding stuff done, I might just rip out this window and do it with the darker part of that thread. And this is what it will look like. So the house is the main chunk of stitching and everything else should go a lot faster. It's just little bits. So that's where I'm at on my travel stitching. And these are 28 count 1/1 on Dove Gray Monaco. And I have a hard time remembering to tell everybody what everything is. Hoot, I don't know the color of this, but it's 28 count. I'm doing it 2/2. And my touchdown piece is 28 count 2/2. Snow Queen is 2/1 on 14 count Ada, and my Simpsons piece is 1/1 half stitches on 40 count. And Furry Animals freebie is 2/1 half stitches on 28 count. So if I remembered to do that every time, it would be a miracle. So my other like home travel pieces have been coming along and going well. I finished Clue 5. Yeah, Clue 5 on Adventure Waits. So this is what that looked like last time. And here it is now. So I have South America finished with this little sailboat and some fish, and this border over here. There's a palm trees and a cactus and a mountain, Jesus statue. I still never get the time to go look it up. This could be Easter Island. I don't remember where Easter Island is, but it looks like they might be statues. It just is awkward that they're blue, so I wasn't sure what they were. So there's that, and Clue 6 will be North America. That will come out on the 22nd, or the night of the 21st, my time. So that's where it's at right now. So because that Clue is finished and I'm all caught up, I moved on to my Storytime sampler. Just yesterday, I was able to start working on that again. So that's this one by the Frosted Pumpkin. And this was a year-long stitch along that they had out in like 2015 or something. Yeah. I'm doing it myself as a year-long stitch along, so I'm in November's block, which is Little Women, with Joe writing some novel. So this is what that looked like last time. And here it is now. So not a ton of progress. Try to get a good overall shot. But I did more of the border in whatever color this is. All of these borders, I forgot, I had a question about this. These borders are just regular cross stitches. Frosted Pumpkin charted this design in mostly DMC, but the border is parchment by Weeks Dye Works. The background color there is parchment. And then each of these borders, there's 4 different Weeks Dye Works that they use. So this one is the one I'm currently working on. What is that one? It's like a tan. Let me find it. Cattail. Weeks Dye Works Cattail. This is Weeks Dye Works Seafoam, which is like a light green. This is Weeks Dye Works Grits, which is a white one that's just got a little hint of off-white tan in it. And then this is Chablis, which is a pinky one. And they just redo, like there's pink here, pink here, pink here. You know, they have all 4 in just a different order in each of the rows. But they're just regular cross stitches. No specialty stitches, so if that was worrying you. It gives a nice lacy look. Each of the borders is different. They have different shapes for the little things in it, so each of the borders is different. They do have the same interior dimensions, so that is nice that stays the same on all of them, but the lace part is different for each one. So it's been really fun. It's kind of fun getting close to a finish on this and the Adventure Waits one to just be... It'll be cool to just have an automatic finish at the end of the year because I've been working on it along the way. This is my redo of the Lady of Shalott, I made it Pride and Prejudice instead. Because that was not originally part of this design. I think that's everything. This is technically 32 count Lana Blue by MCG Textiles. It is uneven linen, so mine are a lot taller and thinner than they're charted to be. But it works. It doesn't really take that much away from the design, so I'm okay with that. And that's all my regular stitching. So I guess I will go into plans and then haul at the end. So I'm going to work on Snow Queen for another couple days, today and tomorrow. See how far I can get on that little blue section. And then I will work on my S Fairy for the 7th, which corresponds with my birthday. So it's by Nora Corbett. That's what it will look like. And here's where it's at right now. This is on Color and Cotton 32 count Lugana in Rosewater. And it's just a little fat 16th. And I'm using mostly I don't think I have any on this one that are called for. It calls for all Classic Colorworks, and I'm doing all my own conversion of Fancy Floss for this one. And I'm adding Kreinik blending filament to the floss in the wings so that it's not, it's sparkly. Because they had Kreinik outlines and just floss for the main color, and I thought they need to be more fairy-like wings, and so they needed to be sparkly all over. So that's what I did. And I'll work on that for one day. And then, like I said, I've been getting a bug to work on fall pieces and work on more of my older whips, or just whips that I haven't been focusing a lot on. Like a lot of my things, I've been bringing out the same things every month, and I've spent a lot of time focusing on finishes in October, and that was great. I got those 2 Christmas pieces finished. But going forward into November, the thought of just spending the whole month on Snow Queen was kind of depressing, because I have a lot of, like, I see people working on fall stitching. I want to work on fall stitching as well a little bit. You know, there's a few fall leaves outside, but you kind of have to force fall in Southern California and make it feel like fall. For example, like going into Christmas season, the only way it feels like Christmas is that you can play Christmas music the day after Thanksgiving. That makes it feel like Christmas, because our fall really starts right around there when you're gearing up for Christmas. And so that's when you're listening to Christmas music and there's fall leaves all over the place falling down, which is a little odd for the other types of the parts of the country, but that's how it is here. And so there's a little fall outside, but I want to make it feel more fall. So I looked through all of my whips and tried to pick out things that I was either currently working on fall colors, or the palette in general was more fall. I don't necessarily have any fall themed pieces, but I was looking more for the colors that kind of went with the fall colors. So I picked out one this week that I'd like to work on, that I mentioned before, that has been on my mind a lot. So I want to work on this one this week. I'm going to give it a couple days. This is To Everything a Season sampler by Needles and Hoops, which is a Busilla company, I guess. It's a 1997 kit. I'm not sure when I got it. But it came with Evenweave and floss and everything. So this is an old whip. But you can see there's these bits are fall down here. And these are probably, you know, spring or summer. There's not a whole lot of winter here, I guess, but they do have some fall bits that I could work on. And some words. The words are in brown. So we'll see. I'm not sure what part of this I'll work on, but this is where I'm at with it right now. I guess I have all those words done. I could do some alphabets. Could work on the basket, because baskets are kind of cornucopia-esque, or I could work on that heart on the top, or I could work on some of these fall motifs here. Yeah, because there's this peach that would be fall colors, or these things that would be fall colors. I might work on these because they're the top. I like to do top down. Although it looks like I have this rolled from the side for some reason. I don't know why that is. Maybe just to fit in the package better. So I love this piece. I've been kind of aching to get it out again. So I will. This is a 28 count, 2/1, and it does have a few specialty stitches. So that's kind of fun. I will work on this for a couple days at the end of the week. Friday may be busy again with the family activities that we have going on, so that's one of the days that I have this for. So we'll see. We'll see what I get done on it, but at least I will get it out again and scratch that itch that has been there since arbitrary August. And then November 10th is Carrie and Stitch's birthday sal. She's going to do a blackwork sal for her birthday. She's doing a particular one that's like a lady, and but you could really do anything that's blackwork. You don't have to do the exact same pattern as her. And she's recently had a couple giveaways on her channel that were for blackwork pieces for people to come alongside. I have always been interested in trying blackwork because I like backstitching, and never really had an opportunity to do it. So I heard about it a couple different times on her videos, and this last video I watched, I'm like, you know what, I need to do that. She mentioned on her video Leslie Tier, who has a website with some PDF downloads of her patterns, and she has a blackwork section, several patterns in there. So I went and had a look and found one I liked, because I have Save the Stitches and some of those downloaded already that were free, but those are huge projects. They're kind of daunting to think about starting, and what would I ever do with that, and do I really want to spend that much time on one type of stitching? I don't know. Never really officially got into that, but this is a smaller pattern and looked pretty, so I went ahead and did it. So I bought this pattern by Leslie Tier. It's called Blackwork Flowers and Butterflies, and thought that was a fun, pretty thing to stitch. So what I kitted this up with stuff I had. I'm going to use this light blue Evenweave that I got at Hobby Lobby, and Victorian Motto floss, and Petite Treasure braid. So this is what I'm going to do this blackwork flower on. So I am really excited about that. These are all Victorian Motto. This one is Coastal Seaweed, which is a fun one I'm doing for the stem. Because in this stem, I have a low toner save mode in my printer, but it's like a gray for the stem. I'm like, no, we need something colorful. So that's the stem, and all of these other ones are kind of sort of related to the original called for colors, but they're Victorian modified. And then I get to use Petite Treasure braid that Diane, Mon.Stitches, sent me. So there's an opportunity to use that too. So that's what I'm going to be doing for Carrie and Stitches Blackwork Birthday Sale on Saturday, and I have this slotted for Sunday also, because I know the weekends can be busy right now. So Saturday and Sunday I'll spend some time on this. So that'll be fun. But because yeah, this outside border and these swirls, and maybe even some inside here, I'm not sure. It's all metallic, so I get to try the Petite Treasure braid for the first time. So definitely fun. Make that a fun excuse. So this is an unplanned start, and I know I had not been feeling the starts, but when this opportunity came up, I figured, you know what, I better just do it. Jump on it while I can, since if an opportunity like this came up next year, I would not be able to. I guess I could still, because this is just a self-imposed thing to not start anything next year, but I really want to try to abide by that and stick to it. So starting something now, while I still can, you know, I'm going to do it. So this is the package that I got at Hobby Lobby. It says Artiste brand, but down here you say Zweigart. So it's actually made by Zweigart. And it's Evenweave. It's very nice linen. I mentioned this in my last video. This is the Evenweave that Hobby Lobby used to sell. It's MCG Textiles. And this is the one they sell now, which is the Zweigart one. So you can see the difference in color. Again, it's a little washed out, but a much lighter one, but the quality is better. It's a lot smoother. You can even see here. Like, this is rougher than this. Both 28, but this is even. So if you do find some of the old stuff, it is even, it is workable. It's a nice shade of blue that you can easily see white on and stuff. But for this project with the black work, I thought the light blue was nice. So that's what I'm going to do with that. And I might want to stop here and get this off my iPad so it doesn't cut out in the middle of something. So I'll be right back. Okay, now I'm back and thought I could show you what I have received in the mail and bought at Stitches West and kitted up amongst my own stash. So if you don't care about this part, that's fine. If you do, enjoy. So the first thing I had ordered from ABC Stitch Therapy in July, and they never received a couple things that I ordered. The main reason I ordered from them was I wanted Sandy's Seasons by Seba Designs, which is a really hard to find chart. And they said they had it. And I emailed them ahead of time and said, you know, do you have this one? Are you able to get it? And they said yes. So I ordered that, and of course, I mean, their shipping seems to be a little higher than others, so I went ahead and ordered a few more things to make it worthwhile. And months went by. I emailed once and heard back and said, we still are waiting for a few things, but we have some shipments coming in the next week or two. So I'm like, okay. So I kept waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And finally, I tried emailing again and didn't hear anything. Emailed again. Finally called them, and they said, well, we're missing one of the Mill Hill beads you'd ordered and one of the charts. So, but we can send you the rest of it that we do have. And sounded like I still don't understand. So if any of you have ordered from ABC Stitch Therapy before, maybe you could let me know. They said they credited me the amount for the pattern and the bead that hadn't came in. But they didn't actually give it back to me. So it seems like it's store credit. And she said they ordered it, he or she. I talked to a guy over the phone, so I don't know. Said they reordered it, just in case, was the words that were used. So I don't know if I'll ever see that one, and I'm tempted to. There's one other shop that I have seen it on, and I think I might email them and say, do you have this in stock? Because distributors clearly don't necessarily have it, even though they say they do. And so I'm going to ask if this other website I found it on has it in stock, and if they do, I think I'll go ahead and order Sandy Seasons from them and cancel the whatever ABC Stitch Therapy has on order and ask for that credit to actually be returned. So we'll see. In the meanwhile, I did get a little bit. So I ordered a couple beads and this is for Winter Queen by Mirabilia. A lot of my old mirrors I had the beads for the longest time, and I believe Summer Queen I have all her beads. So for some reason I didn't have Winter Queen's beads, even though she was the first queen I bought, I think. So this is not all of them. There's one more that I don't have. But that's a start. And so that's for Winter Queen. That was more just filler. And the other one that I got from them was a Just Nan called High Hopes. And it is super cute. It's a little kitty watching the birds and the flowers. out in the garden, and it comes with this little birdhouse or bird feeder charm with a little bird on it. Isn't that adorable? So I have never stitched Just Nan, so that's another one that I was like, I need to pick one thing I like from their designs and get it and stitch it. So this is meant to be, it looks like it's stitched on like natural linen. So I have a bunch of pieces of linen that I got from Debbie Duarte that are natural looking that she got in Lizzie Kate kits. I'll use one of those if it's big enough. I don't know, I haven't checked the dimensions of this necessarily. So I'll use one of those if it's the right size. If not, I got some lamb's wool linen from Shelly that she was de-stashing, and I'll use that if the other ones don't work. So that was fun. And then I finally spent my birthday gift certificate at 123 Stitch that I received from a special stitchy friend. And I was on there kind of thinking I would kit up the fabric and maybe some beads for one of my miras, and then noticed that this kit was on sale. And this is a kit I had seen in Solvang when I was there this summer, and it was too expensive for what my husband was like, I don't know, I think you should wait on that one. So I put it on my wish list on 123 Stitch, but then it shows you in there if it's on sale. And it was on sale for just a tiny bit more than the gift card amount, so I figured it's meant to be. So I went ahead and got it, and then to, again, tag on the fact that I was already paying money on shipping, I got a bunch of beads for Christmas Elegance by Mirabilia. And that's this one, which is the one I did get in Solvang when I was there this summer. So I have a couple of her beads that I found there in Solvang, and then here's some more. And there is, I think this might be all of the beads. There might be more though, actually. It's like, there are a ton. But these ones are huge. Aren't those cool? They're like really big ones. So got at least, I think maybe all the beads for this one. There might have been more, I'll have to check, but quite a few beads. And so that was my 123 Stitch order. I waited a little bit on that because they had, oops, I had something else I wanted to say about that one. They had to wait on the kit, but they had that listed on their website. It usually ships within 10 to 14 days, so I think that one was one they did not have in stock. And I was okay with that. And it really was about 10 days when they finally shipped it. So that was perfect. When I was at Stitches West, I did a lot of enabling of my mother because she was there looking for fiber to spin. And so most of what you would see walking around was yarn. And so whenever we saw the roving, I'd be like, oh look, there's some. So then we'd go over, and so I was like a fiber spotter for her. So we, the whole time I hadn't spent anything. We finally got to Knit Picks. They had a booth there, I guess is what you would call it. And so my mom found a couple pattern books, and what else was she getting there? Maybe just the pattern books. And then when we were up at the, and while she was looking at pattern books, I saw these scissors, which have a cover, and people there were saying they were really sharp, and I thought I remembered seeing other people show these on Flosstube before. And Connecting Threads is another company that sells these. So they were only $3.50, so I picked up a pair of those. I don't generally have like a bunch of scissors, but I figured they're pretty inexpensive and they're good quality, so I'd go ahead and grab a pair of those. And then while I was up at the register, my mom was getting one of these for herself, and she got a little knitting sheep for my aunt, and so I picked up one of these for my daughter because my daughter loves cats, and whenever my mom comes to visit, she likes to learn how to knit. So I thought that was adorable. So I'll probably use this as a stocking stuffer in my daughter's stocking. And then we went back to see Anne again. and I asked her where they sold embroidery floss, because I remember her saying she had seen some embroidery floss at the like Stitches West or somewhere. One of those other shows she's been at was able to find some silk. So I was like, well, is there anybody here that would sell that? You know, I'd like to go see, because I know at a glance you see all the yarn, and yarn is in these big, you know, hanks or whatever, and you're not going to see floss at a place like that, because it's going to be a lot smaller. And so I had no idea where to go and what to look for. So she directed me to Redfish Dye Works, which turns out is pretty close to me, actually, in the town where they are from. And they had embroidery silk, and for a very reasonable price, I thought. And they had lots of different colors. I chose these 3 packages, and there's 4 skeins in each package. They're 8-yard skeins. 6-yard skeins, 8 strands. So it's a little bit opposite DMC. DMC is like 8.7 yards with 6 strands. So this is 6 yards with 8 strands. Silk floss. And this one had a little bit more variegation in it, so I thought that was fun. And then this one I really just loved the colors. And these were a nice pair, you know, to go with these. So what I'm gonna do is, going forward, I have a few different silks now that are not earmarked for a project, so I'm going to start bobbinating them and putting them in here. So these will go in there. I've got some from Anne for my birthday. I've got some from Rita Marie that are going to go in there, and then probably eventually my the ones I have for my chatelaine might go in there too. We'll see if I want to keep them with the project or put them in here. So, but I thought I could have one of the little ones to keep all my silk in. So I have them ready to go for converting for projects too. So that was a fun purchase. And then I I was just kind of on a whim. I've been thinking about it for a while, but I never really made the time to go look for putting fabrics with my patterns. So mostly fancy ladies, but I've been collecting a few fabrics recently that I know will go with things. I just hadn't had the time or made the time to go do it. So the first one I have on my pile here is this vintage Misty Rain that I got from Shelly for my birthday. This is a 46 count Lakeside linen, so it's very tiny. This one I thought would be really nice for Lady of the Mist, because it's Misty, Lady of the Mist. That goes really well together, and I like the thought of that. However, 46 count, she can't be on 46 count, because I was considering at first, well, maybe I'll just do what Andrea of I Heart Cross Stitch is doing and change all the beads to Krynic or some sort of metallic blending filament or something, because it's going to be 46 count that's dyed is going to be more like a 25 count when you do 1/2, and so you really only need 1 strand. So I would do maybe a blending filament instead of all these beads, and I thought, well, yeah, I could do that. But then I was looking at the chart, and there's blends too. Blends is harder to change, and there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3. There's 3 blends. It looks like one of them might be hair, one of them might be skin, but one of them is in the dress, I think. So I decided to go ahead and maybe look for this colorway in a 32 count, because I do like this for this. So that's a thought. I'll go look for this in another size fabric. Meanwhile, to put with that and put on my wish list. And then meanwhile, I'm going to try to use this for this butternut road called Christmas Visit, because she doesn't have any beads. So I don't have to worry about that. She doesn't have any blends. I don't have to worry about that. Looks like these are, there's some blending filament in here. So worst case, if 1 strand of DMC and 1 strand of blending filament is too fat, I'll just do 1 strand of blending filament, and I will be okay with that. so sorry for the glare if you haven't seen this one before. But this is got like a backstitched door back here, and then some shine. These are those like snowy pots of flowers and stuff. That's where the blending filament is, and then the lady is just DMC. So I thought that would be really nice on this fabric. This is a fat quarter, I think. Maybe. I can't remember anymore. Fat quarter or fat half. So there might be extras. But for the meanwhile, I have this earmarked for that. And this is one I picked up at the freebie table at Stitches, the Southern California Stitching Retreat. And I'm going to do it except for this seam. So I'm going to bring this down and just have it be this lower part. And I realized what I was drawn to the gate, and then I realized, and all the specialty stitches, and then I realized the gate is 1/1 in many places, and these letters are also 1/1. So that's probably why I liked it, because there's 1/1, there's specialty stitches, there's italics, you know, so I thought this portion was pretty. Too much confetti in there for me. I've seen Brian with stitch working on this, and I don't want to do that. I have been going back and forth on this border. It's kind of ornate for me, but it kind of works. So I may or may not do the border and a big border and just bring that down on top of this specialty stitch band. So have that right there. And I have some of this Jobelin, ivory Jobelin that I got from Cross Stitch Button that is not cut yet for this, but I have plenty of it, so I'm going to put that with that because this needs a 28 count to go with the 1/1 stitching and the specialty stitches. So I'm going to put that together officially. And I got this color and cotton from Ann P for my birthday. This is Holiday Mint, so it's a very bright green. My first thought was that it could go with Roses of Provence, and I think she would actually look pretty on this, but I don't think the coloring of this tree would look pretty. I think it would clash quite a bit with the way this green is. So I think I'll go with a light green or a light blue for this one. So that's still waiting, but for this one I thought I could do the Cottage Garden Fairy, because she is more fanciful and bright, and this is a similar color to her green skirt, but I think there's enough contrast on the edges and things that I think it would still work. So I'm planning to do that with that. I've had this chart for a very long time. It was gifted to me by my mom, I think, with the called for fabric. And at the time I didn't know why. I was never really drawn to start this, but I think now that I've seen all the different fabric options out there, I think that's maybe why I was hesitating. I don't like this on the brown. And so I had brown fabric with it, and it just never appealed to me. But with this, I think it would be a lot more fun. So I took the brown out of this, away from this one, and I'm going to try it on this green, and I think I'll be happier with that. And the brown, I think I'm going to put with her. This is Cassiopeia that I got from Debbie. I think Debbie Duarte gave me this one too. I decided when I first saw it, I wasn't too keen on this background and the border. So if I don't have the background and the border, I just have the couch and her dress and hair and everything. And I think that would actually look really good on brown, because it would be kind of like, you know, paneling or something. And so I put this. She had already gifted me the DMCs, and I think that'll look really nice on the brown that I had already had been kitted with Cottage Garden Fairy. And this one is probably Chestnut. This is probably Chestnut Linen by Witchell. Which I don't know if they make that color anymore, because this is probably 15 years old when I got this. But I think that's going to go with this one. So that is kitted up with at least the fabric and threads. I still need beads for most of these, but I'll cover that bridge when I actually get around to starting them. And these are some other ones that I have plans and thoughts for. These two, I like the thought of doing them on Bruce, which I think is, it's either a Witch Elder or a Zweigart, I'm not sure. I have Midsummer Night's Fairy upstairs finished on a piece of fabric that's no longer carried, I think. So whatever the equivalent is now, I'd like to do her on, and I think she would look good on the same type of thing, like a dark blue. She is really old, 1994, so her antique blue linen by Witchell I don't think is carried anymore anyways, and I want to do her on blue, so I may try to find a piece of blue spruce perhaps on 1, 2, 3 stitch, and maybe even just get a fat half and do them both on there. I'd have to measure to see. Or look up some like color and cotton and be keeping my eyes out for some nice blues. As well as, I think I want to do her. This is Tatiana, Queen of the Fairies. I want to do her on maybe a dark green. I thought maybe a light green, because she's a fairy to be out in the woods. But I'm kind of thinking maybe a dark green. So, not bright. I want something a little more muted or understated. So, like a forest. She does have these leaves, so I want to make sure those don't get lost on whatever I pick. But I think the rest of her would really pop on a green. So I think I'm going to go for maybe a darker green for that one, to put that on my wish list. And some dark blue for those other ones. And a light misty color, gray misty blue for this one, blue-gray. And then probably a light green. Or I guess she could also look good on light blue. Because of the green in the bush, maybe light blue would be better for her. So we'll see. That's kind of my thoughts right now, and I'm going to go sometime this week probably and do a little research to see if I can add anything to my wish list. And because it's fun to have things ready with the fabric. I have all my DMC already, and so I can start something even if I don't have the beads. I can start it without, as long as you have the fabric and the pattern, and so you can start it. So having those all earmarked with a piece of fabric is really nice. So I won't be starting any of them soon, but going into 2020, my plan is to maybe have the structure in place for 2 finishes or equals 1 new start, and a page finish on a full coverage piece would count for that. I liked how Jessie Marie Does Stuff had a little chart where she paid for her starts with 2 finishes, and so she had a couple, she would show which finishes paid for this new start, and at the time she showed that she was behind and needed to finish a few more things to finish paying for the starts that she had spontaneously had. But I think that concept I like going forward in 2020 once I'm done with my no starts fast. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, and I'm really excited to start that this one. That's probably my favorite one. But a lot of these other ones would be fun to start, and hopefully I'll get some progress on my mirrors this coming year, so I don't feel so bad about starting another one. And I would like to start a few of the kits that I have as well. So those will all be some things that I'll be thinking about for 2020. In the meantime, I think that's everything I've got going on. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a wonderful week stitching, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Talk to you later. Bye.